Welcome to Week 6 of the official NASCAR Gen 4 Cup Series, and this week you'll be taking on the Talladega Superspeedway for 50 laps. To get started in qualifying this week, you want to keep the tires as cold as possible, so shift up to 4th gear and ease the car out of the pits as easily as you can. Any sudden bumps, steering inputs, and acceleration will add unwanted heat, so be sure to take it as slow as possible. Get up to 101 miles per hour to avoid triggering the qualifying scrutiny, and continue rolling until you hit turns 3 and 4. Keeping the car in the top lane, you'll want to slowly ease onto the gas to begin accelerating. You can wait even longer to start going, but I like to stick to turn 3 just to be safe. Keep the car in the top groove, straddling the highest white line with your left front as you take your first lap. Stay up there, but don't let yourself get too close to the wall. The last thing you need to do is force air on your spoiler, so feel free to run a lane lower if it makes you feel better. Take the outside in turns 3 and 4 as you come around to take the white flag. My line is kind of awkward running through the tri-oval here, but it brought me the best result. You may find a different route in practice, but as long as you're getting momentum off of the banking in the tri-oval, you should be set. Point the car into turn 1 and run as close to the yellow line as you can without hitting it. It's easy to overstep and scrape the valence on the apron if you aren't careful, so be sure to find a consistent steering angle and stick to it. Let the car track out slightly out of the corner, but not so much that you sacrifice your forward momentum. Once the car's pointed down the backstretch, slowly guide the car down with your eyes on the yellow line heading into turn 3. Ease back into your preferred steering angle as you run through the final corners. As you reach the exit, you want to allow the car to track up slightly, but not as much as before. Guide the car back down to the yellow line as you enter the tri-oval, and give yourself as straight of a shot to the line as you can without hitting the apron. Let's take another look at that lap. Once the race begins, you'll be starting firmly in 2nd gear. Wheel spin won't be a factor this week, but what might cause problems on the starts and restarts is people opting to short shift rather than using their entire tachometer. While it's true that the RPMs are limited this week, the worst thing you can do toward the front of the field is shift too early, as the car bogs down and hinders the initial momentum of your line. Keep an eye on your RPM and shift between 7,900 and 8,000. Once you get the shifting out of the way, you'll find that this package rewards the line that gets the better start. You may have noticed that the inside got the jump here, and that was a result of the third car on the outside not keeping up on the start, forcing all of the work on the 26 car to keep me in contact with the leaders. Without help, the 26 had no choice but to fall back to the car behind him, waiting the entire backstretch to get the help he needed to get back up to me. A few laps later, I ended up with the 24 car on my bumper, and the middle lane began to roll. As this was my first superspeedway race in this car, I made the mistake of going to the inside here. Not only was I too far out ahead, but I also failed to take into account that the higher you go up, the stronger your line can become. Strength in numbers will ultimately win in most cases, but if a line of strong drivers moves up to the outside, it will be very difficult to overcome them. As the side draft is still a notable factor in these cars, this effect is the same in the middle groove, leaving the inside especially vulnerable. If you can manage to break away on the inside, that would be the strongest place for you to stay, but if you find yourself among a pack of cars, you would be better off in the higher 2 lanes. With that being said, be sure to keep an eye on the cars around you, and make sure that you're confident in who you'll be working with before you commit. The higher you move up the track, the more difficult it becomes to avoid wrecks, so be ready to pick a hill to die on. At long last, we finally have the superspeedway bodies, but don't let the tall nose give you a false sense of security when the time comes to push. The roundness of the nose can steer the car ahead of you, even if you're pushing a square, so you'll have to be careful. It's the pusher's responsibility to hold their car straight during a push, It's the leader's responsibility to hold their line and give their pusher a bumper they can keep up with. If either party makes a mistake or strays away from their line, odds are that it'll result in a crash, so keep this in mind if you find yourself close to the front of your lane. If you can pick your lines, keep your car in one piece, and use your bumper wisely, you could find yourself fighting for the win in the closing laps. Good luck.